everybody. I'm Steve Green, and I'm hosting a special three-part trifecta this week on, for the first time in almost a century, the reestablishment of the Islamic Caliphate in territories currently held by ISIL, now known simply as the Islamic State and ruled by self-proclaimed Caliph Abu Dua, whose full and much longer name you see there on the screen. I'm not even going to try and say that on my first day of it. Let's bring on my co-hosts Scott Ott and Bill Whittle and get right to this. Gents, now, before we get started, a word of warning to our viewers. The image I'm about to show you, it's graphic, it's disturbing, because, well, the Caliphate has brought crucifixion back as a death penalty. Let's get this up on the screen. This picture was taken this weekend, and the man you're looking at there wasn't crucified for apostasy. He wasn't crucified for being a Jew or a Christian or an atheist or for being gay. Reportedly, he was crucified for being too moderate a Muslim. This is life in the Caliphate. News came out on Monday that another man, this one a Caliphate official, had been crucified for taking bribes. This is our modern, if you will, Middle East. Scott, do you get the sense that this new Caliphate is just getting started, or will this level of bloodshed burn itself out?
Well, it's not just getting started. It started a couple of hundreds of years ago, and it's continuing to go strong, and it's continuing to do to people what they've been doing to people all along. I will say, though, I'm a little nervous about characterizing exactly why that person was crucified, but it doesn't matter to me why they were crucified. I can't read the writing on that sheet that they have in front of him. Perhaps some of our Arabic-speaking viewers can do that and provide a translation in the comments section. But I'll tell you what, it doesn't matter why they did it. I don't care if they did it, even if he committed a crime. This is we say this is a medieval religion, this radical Islam. This is pre-medieval religion. And it's unbelievable that a civilized world would be able to sit back and have conversations about, how we can bring together the warring factions and try to, get them to agree on common ground, as our own president is talking about. It's silly, it's dangerous, and it's disgusting, frankly.
I should mention that one of the responses, Scott, to that tweet was somebody complaining, well, isn't crucifixion against international law? This is what they're worried about.
Oh, unbelievable.
It's there. You can click the link and see that. The Islamic State, it covers eastern Syria and much of northern Iraq. Bill, just months ago, it looked like the Assad regime was winning the Syrian civil war, and Iraq, of course, had been under American occupation or protection since 2003. Yet this caliphate popped up seemingly out of nowhere after a few years of fighting in little bits of Syria to fill what looks like a gaping, huge power vacuum. How did we get to this point?
Well, we created a gaping, huge power vacuum, Steve. That's really about all you need to know.
Yeah, that'll do.
People look at these things. They look at these moments like crucifixion and all of the beheadings that are going on in Iraq. And those of us who live here in Disneyland, and Disneyland extends pretty much from Maine to San Diego. The whole country is Disneyland. The West is Disneyland compared to where these people live and what they believe. So if you grew up in Disneyland, as most of us did in America, you tend to look at these acts of barbarism and malice and just sheer raw brutality as aberrations. But that's not the case at all. That's the natural state of mankind and always has been. We're the aberration. This idea of civilized behavior is the aberration, and it requires certain precepts. Among them is the certainty of punishment for transgressions. Now, when you take that power out of the world, that civilizing power out of the world, it's not like you create this kind of violence. You simply allow this kind of violence, which had been previously suppressed by civilization, to grow. And what happens in every single case, it's happened, you can take it back to the violence and the barbarism of the whitest people in the world with the Germans and the rise of the Nazis. It begins by testing and nibbling and little steps. Where there's no response to those steps, there's larger steps and larger provocations. And where there's no response to those, they get more and more bold, and suddenly the whole thing explodes and everybody wonders what happened. When the American government decides on a whim which one of these dictators to remove and which ones to keep, where to back the Islamic Brotherhood and where not to back the Islamic Brotherhood, it's no wonder that the entire region is looking at the reality of the fact that the civilizing power of the American nation, of the power and the might of the U.S. military, is no longer going to be deployed. And not only are we going to see more of this, we're going to see a lot more of this very soon, and we're going to suddenly realize the horror that we've unleashed by our moral cowardice.
You know, Bill, that's a great point you raised there, especially at the end. Just a couple of days ago, I had a reader of Vodka Pundit remind me of an old saying. A war is decided just as soon as one side decides it's going to be more civilized. Civilization must be absolutely brutal when it comes to stamping out, well, brutal people because, well, it's the only thing that works. We were absolutely brutal in World War II, and it's the last war that we won.
Correct.
Imagine that. Folks, as we tape this, the Iraqi army is attempting to retake Saddam Hussein's hometown, Tikrit, from the caliphate. This is a battle to watch because, well, we're going to learn several things. We'll learn if the Islamic State is a real force or just a mob that's been lucky so far. We'll learn if the money and training we've given the Iraqis has been worth anything. And we'll learn if the largely Shiite Iraqi army is willing to fight, I mean, really fight, to liberate a Sunni area. These are all things we really need to know before we make any big decisions. But mostly, we'll learn which is the strong horse in the Middle East. The United States, Iran, or the new caliphate. We'll discuss Iran in part 2. That's coming up tomorrow. For Bill Whittle and Scott Ott, I'm Steve Green. Thanks for watching.